Welcome. It's time for another one of those musings. And I want to think a little bit with you on the concept of human needs. A while ago, maybe a few months ago, and unfortunately I don't remember where, I heard, read, watched something where somebody said that human needs were actually an invention of the marketing industry. And that there's no scientific basis whatsoever for any of this. In preparation for this recording, I did a little search on Google and found several different lists. There's a list of 6 needs, and a list of 7, and a list of 14, and one comprehensive list of 30. There's Maslow's pyramid of needs. There's Tim Robbins' human needs concept, and there's nonviolent communications needs that apparently are behind every emotion that we feel, which is useful, but as many useful concepts go, it also has limits, and probably all of these models are useful and have limits. You know this thing, every model is wrong, some are useful, and any model is useful within its bounded applicability, I guess. Unless it's just totally stupid, but that's beyond this conversation. So human needs. I heard a podcast today where somebody was interviewing Nora Bateson. I don't remember the name of the person who interviewed her. And at some point he said that something he learned about our Western culture is that our Western culture contains an entitlement to know. And what I added immediately was an entitlement to understand. We think we are entitled to explanation. We are entitled to understand each other, to understand ourselves, to understand what's going on, to know the details, to know the facts. And in the context of the podcast, where Nora was talking about the ability to be lost and the skill to be lost, which I think is a really important skill to cultivate in these uncertain times. And that brought me back not only to our inability to be lost, inability to not know, inability to not understand, or unwillingness to not understand, but also brought me back to this idea of, okay, maybe we are conflating or mistaking entitlements for needs. Like when we say, I have a need for privacy. I don't know if that's a human need. I think that some people want privacy in some contexts, and I think that's totally fine. I'm not advocating against any specific thing that anybody wants, but framing it as a human need, as if that was a universal human right, as if I could, that I'm right to expect this. Right? We know that expectations can be difficult because I hold expectations, meaning that when I hold an expectation that is not fulfilled, then I give somebody or something, depending on who's the target of the expectation, control over my feelings. Like if they don't fulfill my expectation, I feel bad, even if they don't know that I'm expecting that. Right? If I expect somebody to be on time and they're late, again, that's a specific example. I don't want to get too much into specific examples. I'm just curious, like, what do you think? This is currently a nascent thought in my head. It seems like something that might have value to deconflate and to disentangle. Like, what are we really needing? Like air, food, water, no discussion. Some variety and some continuity, because the way our brains work with predicting our world and feeding sensory information into that and having this delicate balance between the two. I'm assuming that that's where our need for variety, some actual input, and our need for continuity, like our brains kind of burn if everything is unexpected that comes into our senses. So we have this delicate balance, so we have a need for continuity and variety. I also think that we need connection. We are social beings, and we also individual beings. So there's another tension there. That's basically the Tim Robbins human needs idea. I find that scientifically explainable, and it makes a lot of sense viscerally to me. And it's very simple. It's just these four. And so I wonder, like these things that are in our typical conversations, I work a lot with people who know nonviolent communication, and they have this cheat sheet of like, these are the needs you are entitled to have, which is not on the paper, but this is how I feel people are using it. And I wonder if, I don't know, a need for purpose, a need for creativity, a need for privacy, I mentioned that already, a need for beauty, need for challenge or growth or stimulation. I don't know, are these actually human needs? And what happens to a world where everybody feels entitled to that? I think there might be some explanation there for some of the stuff that feeds the current polycrisis, and that's why I'm so interested in these things. Like, what is it about our culture that's at the core of the human predicament, as some of us call it? Yeah, it's an open question. It's the beginning of a conversation. I'm willing to spend more time. I'm just curious to get your thoughts, your ideas, your perspectives. How are needs as a concept? How's that helpful, harmful, useful? Which of these models do you use to guide your own orientation in the world, I guess? What's part of your map for this increasingly interesting territory that we find ourselves in? That's my question for today, and I'm curious to continue the conversation. Thank you very much.